Well, you're Irish, right? You've got
No, I'm
ginger
not.
hair.
I'm not Irish. I'm Swedish and Swiss German and English.
Well, some Irishmen must have fucked someone down the line.
Well, that's where the red hair actually originates in Sweden because the Vikings, they went and owned half of Ireland at one point.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I read recently that actually, I'll be honest. I heard the guy, who's the guy who has the intervention, the celeb, Dr. Drew. He was saying that that's where I get my medical information from. He was saying that Scots,
Better Dr. Drew than Dr. Dre.
he's second on my list, then Dr. Oz.
or Dr. Dr. Pepper.
So, renowned medical expert Dr. Drew said that Scots have genetically developed a tendency to enjoy danger and conflict and being uncomfortable because the ones who hated that died. And the reason they were always surrounded by that was England was attacking them for hundreds and hundreds of years. So being at war for hundreds of years, you end up genetically evolving to like war, to like conflict, to want trouble. And he said that's why so many of them are alcoholics. Alcohol is big in Scotland because it makes you vulnerable and it enables dangerous situations. And it's sort of like you're handicapping yourself because you like being handicapped. You like being fucked up. You like getting fucked up.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I always think about it. We know, my wife is in science. She's a pharmacist. We know different drugs work differently for different populations. We know that dogs behave differently depending on the breed. Why should we think that human beings are at all different? I mean, we know, for instance, from the genetic sequencing that all non-Africans have a percentage Neanderthal in them because our Homo sapien ancestors went and fucked and raped and pillaged the Neanderthals because they were slower and there weren't as many of them.
Well, isn't that what red hair is? It's a Neanderthal gene.
I don't think it's Neanderthal, actually. I think it's from...
You're a Neanderthal.
Well, you are too, actually, as a white dude. I also like Neanderthals.
Hi, welcome back. We have a Neanderthal here. Charles C. Johnson, the evidence is on his head.
Yeah. No, I don't. But if you think about it, like, we humans, like, if you look at something like gingerism, right? Mm-hmm. Like, one of the biggest reasons people discriminate against gingers or make fun of them is because they're different. And people like the same. They like traveling with their own people, whether it's an imagined community like the LARPers online, or whether it's or gamers, or the Gamergate thing or whatever, or whether it's people who look like you, or you like a certain kind of food or music or a certain type of scene. So we're a very tribal species. And what the left tries to do is it tries to say, look, guys, you got to all be alike. You all got to think a certain way.
Everything has to be a pizza pie. Harvard has to look like the demographics of the country.
And it doesn't at all.
It's all Asian.
No, it's not. They keep out a lot of the Asians.
They handicap them.
The Jews are overrepresented there, which is a big no PC thing to say. The Jews have sort of become the new WASPs at Harvard.
So Charles C. Johnson, the white supremacist, believes that Jews and Asians are genetically smarter.
Yeah.
And that's considered white supremacy. Doesn't
white
supreme mean you're at the top? What kind of supremacist puts himself third on the list?
I mean...
It looks like Hitler saying, we Germans are third. We have to extinguish everyone else. Obviously, Belgium and France are better.
It's just... The thing that's funny about it is that at a certain point, you got to look around and you're like, all right, Jews are like 0.03% of the population, point of world population, but they're way overrepresented. They're like 11% of world billionaires. You'd be like, did this just all happen by accident? And if there is some like giant Jewish conspiracy, wouldn't you want to join it rather than like be extinguished?
Well, I actually know a guy who was pulled into the Bernie Madoff scheme.
Oh, that's right.
And I'm not going to name his name. Don't name his name.
I'm not going to name his name.
But he's very, very wealthy, and he's anti-Semitic. And he thought, well, these Jews seem to be up to something. And it was what do they call it, an affinity scheme. And it was so Jews see other Jews in it, and they go, all right, I trust you. We're a culture. We're a group. And then the Bernie Madoffs take advantage of that loyalty and fuck them. So he sees them colluding, and he goes, I want in on that. Pours money into it, and it sinks.
But I think people when they're designing things, right? If you're going to have a basketball team, you want the tallest, fastest dudes.
Right.
And that would be blacks largely. Or if you wanted to win a math competition, you'd get Asians. Now, you probably wouldn't get Asians to do your basketball team or your blacks to do your math competition, because as time goes on, people select certain things to be good at. If you see this in families all the time, you see this even in names. Butcher, Butcher is the last name, or Baker.
Barber, yeah.
And the reason they have these names is because the whole family did the profession. You'd get better and better over generations. You'd get a comparative advantage, and you'd kick ass. And so the traits that were successful, and Jewish intelligence, from what we know from the Nick Wade book, with the science columnist of the New York Times, Jewish intelligence came about because way back in the day, to be a good Jew is to be literate. So all the people who were like, oh, fuck this learning thing, it's too hard, they didn't become Jews. And the ones who were really good at reading and writing and arguing, they're the ones who had more kids. And as time goes on, you just kind of repeat the pattern. And we've seen selection on that part with foxes. I mean, foxes, there's a famous experiment from this Russian geneticist who within 3 generations took wild foxes and made them tame. So we can do this kind of selection is going on.
Well, that's the other thing, too, with nature and nurture. You inevitably get to this point where people go, wait a minute, you said, Scots are like this and they love booze because they were attacked. So that's not nature, that's nurture. But the two meld together, and I think the amount of time is not that much. I think it's as little as 100 years, and it could be as maybe 3 generations. You can alter your fate. This idea that it happened in an hour is where we're at in America, where, this guy, or you see it on Intervention all the time. They showed her boobs to the class, and she's been a junkie ever since. Like, no, they showed her great-grandmother's boobs to the class and kept doing it for generations. That's why she's fucked up.
Right. We kind of want to believe we have more like human agency. We have this ability to change things, that if only like some bad shit hadn't happened in our youth, we wouldn't have gone and been so fucked up later on. But the truth of the matter is that most of us are products of families. I mean, we're all products of families in one form or another, even orphans. I mean, this is why the twin studies, this is damning.
I bore my wife to tears with these studies.
The twin studies is ridiculous.
Same dog, same profession, similar looking husbands, similar income, no matter how they grew up.
I mean, I have friends who are twins, and they send their mother the same fucking Christmas card every year. Not coordinated, not anything. And it's like a running joke.
If you get fucked by your dad, you're going to get knocked off course.
Yeah.
If you grew up,
but a lot of people
grew up in, in Bavaria and grew up with dogs, you were a feral child, you're going to get fucked up.
No, but people, even those situations where people who are the victims of sexual abuse, we sort of do this whole abuse excuse thing that, oh, daddy diddled me and therefore I have a right to do heroin. No, like, don't do heroin. Like, there's stupid shit that you shouldn't do. And a lot of people who are the victims of abuse turn out to be perfectly normal, well-functioning adults.
I dated one.
To the extent
she was a prostitute, and her life was hell as far as sexual abuse goes, but she was a totally normal person. Her sex life was weird, and the thing when we would have sex would be it couldn't be gentle or kind, because that reminded her of that was a trigger, basically. So it had to be totally abusive.
Did you have to, if you dated a prostitute, did you have to pay for it too, or did you pay in other ways, like teddy
she
bears
long
and
since
chocolates?
Quit.
Oh, I see.
But like, I'd have to hit her in the face with pita bread at this grocery store
No
and
way.
stuff. Yeah, she would love that. I didn't particularly enjoy it, and it was embarrassing.
Humans are strange.
People, well, no, I don't think that's a totally normal. What she had done is compartmentalized sex, and then found a new way to be stimulated. Ayaan Hirsi Ali. I know of a woman, not Ayaan Hirsi Ali, but I know of a woman who had her clit cut off, just like Ayaan did. And a friend of mine dated her, and the way they would fuck is after they were done, she would get on top of him, and she would rest her vagina on his coccyx, not his cock, but his tailbone, and she would push up and go boom, 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 and kind of plop her clit, her destroyed clitoris, down, hammer it onto his tailbone, and come that way.
Okay, I mean,
so we adapt. I guess is what I'm saying. But
I mean, this is what we need to start. We're
okay.
We're status signaling monkeys who do things like try and shame each other, harm each other, or to show off, to try and get mates. And we're the product of every one of us started out as sperm meets an egg and became a human being for better or for worse. And a lot of the left, which is so obsessed with if you believe in Darwin, do you believe in evolution? That's their whole thing. They always ask.
Yeah, the pro-science then. It makes
no, well, they're really not. They're really
mad.
not though, because we notice that they believe in evolution only below the neck, right? This idea that the most expensive organ in your body that uses something like 30% of your calories, which is your brain, they believe that, oh, when we left Africa, or our ancestors left Africa, there was no difference whatsoever. And anyone who thinks otherwise, even though we can measure cranial capacity, we can measure brain activity, anyone who thinks otherwise is a eugenicist and a racist and a white supremacist.